The day you stopped responding, their power started crumbling. No dramatic showdown, no final speech, no grand exit, just silence, pure, unshakable silence. They waited for your usual reaction, ready with their scripts and manipulations, but you gave them nothing. They waited for the explosion. They knew they had trained you to react that way. They knew your weakness, your triggers, your patterns. They were waiting for you to fall into their trap once again. But this time, you didn't take the bait. You didn't give them the satisfaction of your anger, your pain, your tears. You gave them nothing. And in doing so, you broke the cycle. You broke the chains that had bound you for so long. And the worst part was, they didn't even know it yet, but you knew, and in the silence, you felt a power you had never known before. It was quiet, it was calm, but it was real. For so long, you had been caught in a web spun from their words, their gaslighting, their cruelty. It was subtle at first. Then, it became a constant barrage until you believed you were the one at fault. You believed that you were broken, that you were weak, that you had no worth. And they were so good at making you believe it, so good at twisting your reality that you didn't even know where you ended and they began. It was like living in a fog where nothing was clear. Everything felt distorted, and the longer you stayed in that fog, the more you lost yourself. But that day, the day you stopped responding, something shifted inside you. Suddenly, you could see again. Suddenly the fog began to clear, and you realized something horrifying. You had been living in a prison of your own, making a prison built on lies they had planted in your mind. And as you sat there in silence, you felt the bars start to loosen. You felt the first glimmer of freedom. It wasn't easy. You had been trained to react to them like a puppet on a string for so long. You had forgotten how to exist without their approval, without their validation. But in the silence, you found something more powerful than approval. You found self-worth. You found the strength to stand on your own 2 feet. And though they were still trying to manipulate you, they couldn't get the rise out of you anymore. They couldn't get inside your head. They couldn't make you doubt yourself, because you had taken away their weapon. You had taken away their control. And for the first time, in what felt like forever, you were in control of your own mind. You see, the reason they keep you in the cycle of emotional abuse is because they thrive on your reactions. They thrive on the chaos they create in your life, because that chaos gives them power. It gives them a sense of control over you. It feeds their ego, their need to feel superior. And when you react to them, when you get upset, when you beg for their love or approval, you are handing them that power on a silver platter. But the moment you stop reacting, you rob them of that power. You take away their ability to manipulate you. And that is when they start to lose their grip on you. They try harder, they push more, they scream louder, they demand your attention. But nothing they do can reach you anymore, because you are no longer a part of their game. They will try to make you doubt yourself again. They will try to convince you that your silence is a weakness, that you are falling into some trap, that you are making a mistake. But you know better now. You know that your silence is your strength. Your silence is your rebellion. Your silence is the very thing that is destroying their hold over you. And the more you embrace it, the more you hold your ground, the more you will see them crumble before your eyes. Because without your reactions, they are nothing. They are just hollow shells, trying to hold on to power that no longer belongs to them. It won't be an overnight transformation, and it won't always be easy. There will be moments when you will feel the pull to react, the familiar urge to fight back, to scream, to make them see you, to make them hear you. But remember this, your silence is your weapon, and it is the one thing they can never take from you. the more you resist the urge to fight, the more they will try to drag you back into their world of chaos. But every time you hold your ground, you become stronger. And every time you hold your tongue, you take another step toward your freedom. In the silence, you will find your truth. In the silence, you will find your strength. And in the silence, you will break the chains that have kept you in prison for so long. You will break free from the emotional abuse that has defined so much of your life, and you will stand tall and unshaken, knowing that you are no longer a victim, but a survivor, a warrior who has learned the most powerful lesson of all, that you are enough just as you are, and you don't need anyone's approval to know your worth. They will never understand what happened. They will never understand why you stopped reacting. They will never understand the quiet strength that now resides within you. But that doesn't matter, because you understand. And that is all that matters. They will try to pull you back into their games. They will try to convince you that you are nothing without them. But you know better now, because you are everything with or without them. You are whole, you are complete, and you are worthy of love and respect on your own terms. When you finally find the courage to step away from their emotional abuse and stop responding to their manipulations, you will start to see the truth for what it is. You will see their insecurity, their need to control their fear of losing you, and you will realize that they were never as powerful as they made themselves out to be. They were only powerful because you allowed them to be. You allowed them to control your emotions. You allowed them to define your reality. But that is no longer the case. The moment you stop responding, you break free from their prison, and although it will feel uncomfortable at first, although it will feel like you are losing something, you will soon realize that you are gaining something much more valuable. You are gaining your freedom. You are gaining your power. You are gaining your life back. And as you continue to walk away from their emotional abuse, you will find that the weight you once carried is no longer there, and the chains that held you down will slowly begin to fade into nothingness. They will try to make you feel guilty. They will try to make you feel selfish. They will try to make you feel like you are abandoning them. But the truth is, you are not abandoning anyone except the version of yourself that allowed them to control you. You are not selfish for choosing yourself. You are not wrong for protecting your peace, and you are not weak for walking away. You are strong, you are brave, and you are doing what is necessary for your survival, for your well-being, for your happiness. As you move forward in silence, you will begin to reclaim pieces of yourself that you thought were lost. You will start to remember who you are without their influence, and you will begin to rebuild your life from the ground up. And while they are left fumbling with their words, trying to regain control over you, you will be building something new, something powerful, something that cannot be shaken by their manipulations, because you now understand that your worth is not defined by them. Your worth is defined by you, and no one has the power to take that away from you. The cycle is broken, the chains are gone, the power they once held over you is slipping away, and you are walking into a future that is yours to create. You are walking into a future where you are free, where you are strong, where you are enough. And though the silence may be deafening at times, though the road ahead may be difficult, know this: you are not alone. You are not weak. You are not broken. You are whole. You are powerful. And you are unstoppable. So hold your silence. Hold your ground. And know that every moment you stand in that silence, you are one step closer to breaking free completely from the emotional abuse that wants to defined your life. You are reclaiming your power. You are reclaiming your truth. And you are becoming the person you were always meant to be. Your silence is your power. Your silence is your freedom. And it is the very thing that will change your life forever. You've begun a journey that cannot be undone. one that will continue to evolve as you reclaim the pieces of yourself that were once shattered and scattered by the storms they created. They may try to poke, prod, and push you into returning to the emotional battlefield, but you now stand in a place that they cannot reach. You stand in your own unshakable space, your silence being the fortress that surrounds you. The quiet is no longer a sign of weakness. It is the deliberate act of self-preservation. The moment you stopped responding, you stopped giving them a key to your heart, to your mind, and to your spirit. The chaos they stirred no longer resonates within you. It's as though the vibrations of their manipulation no longer hit the strings of your soul. Their words are nothing but noise that bounces off your silence like a stone thrown into a vast ocean. The ripples dissipate as soon as they touch the surface. You're not there to react to their every beck and call, not there to beg for their validation or to prove your worthiness of their affection or approval. You no longer live for their acceptance, you live for yourself. For the first time in so long, your existence does not revolve around their moods, their needs, their manipulations, or their lies. And with that realization comes the birth of your true self. It's difficult, this silence. For years, your emotions were constantly flared, constantly exposed. There was never an opportunity to breathe without first considering how they might react. If you didn't say the right thing, do the right thing, or show up the right way, there would be consequences, always consequences. Every action, every word, every look was a calculated move in a game that you didn't even know you were playing. You were a pawn, a piece to be moved around as they saw fit. They wore masks of affection, of concern, of love. But beneath those masks was a predator, feeding off your vulnerability, and you gave them everything. You were never prepared for the fight because there was no fight. It was all a manipulation, a slow and insidious tightening of the bonds that kept you tethered to them. But today, that silent rebellion begins. Today, you take a step into freedom, and even though the transition is not easy, even though the doubt and fear still try to creep into your mind, you know now that you are free. In the silence, they will try to break you again. They will try to provoke you with guilt, with anger, with desperate pleas that are designed to manipulate your heart. They will pull on your insecurities, reminding you of all the times you were there for them, of all the ways you showed up despite the pain, despite the abuse. They will try to make you feel like the silence is a betrayal, that your refusal to play the game of their emotional warfare is the worst thing you could have ever done. But let me tell you this, their attempts to manipulate you again are proof of how terrified they are. They are terrified of losing control over you. They are terrified that your silence has awakened something inside you that they cannot touch, cannot break, and cannot bend to their will. This is not just a loss for them, it is the complete unraveling of their grip on you. When you stop responding, when you stop reacting to their poisonous words, they begin to lose their power. At first, they may try to disguise it. They may shift tactics, attempt to guilt you or shame you back into the cycle. But these are only the last desperate gasps of someone losing control. And you must remember that this is not your burden to carry anymore. You don't owe them your emotional energy. You don't owe them your tears or your attention. They don't deserve the pieces of you that you gave away so freely, so carelessly, for so long. Every piece you withhold from them now is a piece you give back to yourself. Every moment of silence is a moment of reclaiming your worth, your dignity, your identity. They don't get to define you anymore. They don't get to tell you who you are, how you feel, or what you should think. They are not the ones who hold your truth. You do. There are still moments, yes. There are moments when the weight of of what you've endured crashes in on you like a wave. You will feel the memories of the abuse, the hurt, the manipulation, and the confusion. And in those moments, the silence may feel unbearable. But this is where your power lies, in your ability to sit with that pain, to allow it to exist without it controlling you. You don't need to react to every emotion, every thought, every flash of hurt. You don't need to apologize for feeling it, but you don't need to allow it to drag you back into their web. The silence becomes your shield. You can acknowledge the pain, but you don't need to give it a voice. You can hold space for your sorrow, but you no longer allow it to control your narrative. The silence is not empty. It is filled with your newfound strength, your power to simply exist without apology, without justification. You have spent so long living under the constant weight of emotional abuse that you forgot what it was like to simply be. You forgot what it was like to exist without fear of rejection, without fear of judgment, without fear of manipulation. The silence is your return to that space. The silence is your reclamation of your truth. And although they may try to create chaos around you, although they may try to provoke, to guilt, to pull you back into the narrative they want to continue spinning, you now know that you are no longer a character in their story. You are the author of your own. You are no longer a passive participant in their emotional warfare. You are a sovereign being, capable of making your own decisions, capable of living a life of peace and truth. The silence is not just the absence of noise, it is the presence of clarity. In the stillness, you begin to see things for what they truly are. You begin to see how deeply you have been manipulated, how deeply you have been controlled, and how deeply you allowed someone else to dictate your worth. And the more you sit with this realization, the more you see that their power was never real. It was an illusion, built on your own fear, your own self-doubt, and your willingness to believe their lies. When you stopped responding, you started to wake up from the trance. You started to wake up to the truth that you were never powerless. You were never weak. You were always whole, always worthy, and always capable of reclaiming your freedom. As you move forward, the silence will no longer be a painful reminder of what was lost. It will become a sacred space of growth and healing. It will be the place where you rediscover your passions, your dreams, your desires. The silence is where you start to build the life you were always meant to live. A life free of manipulation. A life filled with love that you give yourself first. It is in this silence that you will find the strength to say no, to walk away, to choose what is best for you, without the fear of judgment or rejection. The more you silence their voices, the more you will hear your own. And your voice, once suppressed, will grow stronger and more confident with each passing day. In time, you will see the full extent of what this silence has done for you. You will look back and realize that the moment you stopped responding was the moment your life began to change. That quiet act was the first step towards freedom. That silence was the loudest statement of resistance you could have made. You have reclaimed your power, your truth, and your ability to choose. They cannot take that from you. They can try to tear down everything around you, but they can no longer touch the foundation you've built in silence. You are stronger than they ever imagined. You are free, and that freedom will never be taken away from you again. And as you walk this path of silence, of strength, of freedom, remember that you are not alone. There are countless others who are also breaking free from the chains of emotional abuse. You are not isolated. You are part of a growing wave of individuals who are choosing themselves, who are choosing to walk away from the toxicity and pain. You are not just a survivor. You are a warrior. You are part of a movement of silent revolutionaries who understand that true power lies not in the loudest words or the most dramatic confrontations, but in the quiet strength of standing in your own truth. And your silence, your power, your freedom will inspire others to do the same. You are changing not just your life, but the lives of those around you. So hold on to the silence, embrace it, and never forget that it is your greatest weapon. Your silence is not your weakness. It is the roar of a lion who knows her worth. It is the stillness before the storm of your own transformation. And in the end, it will be the very thing that changes your life forever. You may not see it now in the midst of the struggle, when the silence feels like an unbearable weight pressing down on your chest. But one day, you'll look back and you'll see that this silence, this refusal to engage with the emotional chaos that once ruled your life, was the pivotal moment. It was the turning point that set you free, that allowed you to finally breathe again, unencumbered by the suffocating grip of another's control. You will see that in the silence, you found the power to step out of the darkness and into the light of your own truth, your own being. For so long, you lived under their shadow, always looking over your shoulder, always anticipating the next emotional attack. The cycles were endless. One moment they would love you, the next they would tear you apart, and you would spend days, weeks, sometimes years, trying to put yourself back together again, only to have it happen all over again. Your world was never your own. It was shaped by their moods, their needs, their demands. Every decision, every choice you made was filtered through their lens, their perception of what you should be, how you should behave, and how much of yourself you should sacrifice. But that silence, your silence, became the beacon that illuminated the path forward, the escape from that never-ending storm. It was the single act of defiance against the manipulations, the emotional abuse, and the control that held you captive. It wasn't just the absence of words, it was the presence of your power, the acknowledgement that you were worthy of something better. It was the moment you stopped letting their words define your reality, stopped letting their emotional volatility dictate your inner peace. You began to build your own foundation, brick by brick. With each moment you chose not to react, not to respond, not to give them the emotional satisfaction of knowing they still had a hold on you. The silence may have felt foreign at first. It might have felt like giving up, like abandoning the fight. But it was never about giving up. It was about choosing yourself for the first time in your life. It was about refusing to let them continue to drain the very life force from you, refusing to let them take the best parts of you and twist them into something dark and twisted. It was about reclaiming your peace, your space, and most importantly, your self-respect. In the silence, you began to rediscover who you were, without their influence, without their manipulation, without their judgments. You rediscovered your own voice, a voice that had been drowned out by their constant need to dominate, to control, and to make you feel insignificant. That voice was always inside you, but for so long, it was buried beneath the weight of their emotional abuse. But now, with every moment of silence, that voice grew stronger. It grew louder. It began to speak with clarity and conviction, unapologetically declaring who you are, what you want, and what you deserve. As you stand in this newfound space, you will feel the tug of the past. The echoes of their manipulations may still haunt you from time to time. The memories of their cruelty may rise to the surface, and the temptation to engage with them, to explain yourself, to justify your decisions, may still be there. But every time you resist that pull, every time you choose silence instead of conflict, you reinforce the power that now resides within you. You remind yourself that you no longer need to defend your worth. You don't need to explain why you are worthy of respect. You don't need to justify your right to exist without their toxic influence. You simply are, and that is enough. You'll also notice a shift in your interactions with others. As you regain your strength and your sense of self, You'll start to attract people who see you for who you truly are, not for who they want you to be. These are the people who will respect your boundaries, who will not try to manipulate or control you. These are the people who will support you in your growth, who will encourage you to continue to walk in your power, and who will never make you feel small or insignificant. These people will teach you that love is not about manipulation. It's about mutual respect, understanding, and freedom. The more you embrace your silence and your strength, the more you will attract the relationships that nurture and uplift you instead of those that tear you down. But the most important change will be within yourself. You will begin to understand that your worth is not tied to the approval of others. You will no longer measure your value by how much you can give, how much you can sacrifice, or how much you can endure. Your value is inherent. It is built into the very core of who you are. And once you realize that, once you truly internalize that your worth is not negotiable, you will stop allowing anyone to take it from you. The silence will no longer feel like emptiness. It will feel like freedom. It will feel like a sacred space where you can hear your own thoughts, where you can honor your own feelings without interference. It will become a space where you can heal from the wounds of the past and begin to rebuild yourself, not as a reaction to the pain you endured, but as a response to the truth of who you are. There will be moments when the silence will be difficult to maintain, when the emotional wounds will flare up again, and when you may feel like you're losing ground. But those moments will pass. The more you sit in your silence, the stronger you will become. And eventually, those moments of doubt and pain will become fewer and farther between. They will lose their grip on you. They will no longer have the power to dictate your emotions or your actions. You will become impervious to their attempts to provoke you, to bait you, to drag you back into their web. In time, you will realize that this silence is not something to be feared or avoided. It is something to be cherished. It is the space where you can finally hear your own voice, where you can finally decide who you want to be without interference from anyone else. It is the space where your power resides, where your freedom begins, and where your true life will unfold. You will begin to dream again, to hope again, to believe in the possibilities that lie ahead. And as you continue down this path, you will see how much stronger you have become. You will look back at the person you once were, the one who was caught in the cycle of emotional abuse, the one who believed they were powerless, and you will marvel at how far you've come. You will realize that the moment you stopped responding, you didn't just stop engaging with them. You stopped engaging with your own fear, your own self-doubt, and your own belief that you were broken. You stopped believing the lie that you were less than, that you were unworthy, and that you had to prove yourself to anyone. Now, you will know that you are worthy simply because you exist. You are worthy because you have the strength to walk away from what no longer serves you. You are worthy because you have the courage to choose silence over the chaos that once ruled your life. You are worthy because you have learned to love yourself, to honor yourself, and to protect yourself at all costs. The silence, once so foreign and uncomfortable, will become your greatest ally. It will be your shield, your strength, and your guide as you move forward into a life that is yours to create. It will be the source of your power, the key to your freedom, and the foundation on which you will build the life you deserve. You will never again allow someone else's words, their manipulation, or their abuse to define who you are. You will never again allow anyone to take what is rightfully yours, the peace, the respect, and the love that you deserve. And in the end, as you continue to stand firm in your silence, as you continue to choose your own peace over their chaos, you will understand that this silence was never just about avoiding conflict. It was about reclaiming your life, your power, and your freedom. And that is something no one can ever take away from you. this silence, this strength, this freedom, it is yours, and it will change your life forever. In the end, your silence will prove to be your greatest strength. It is not just the absence of noise, but the presence of your power, your peace, and your freedom. By refusing to engage in the cycle of emotional abuse, you have reclaimed your life, your worth, and your identity. The chaos no longer controls you. You now stand in your own truth, stronger and more whole than ever before. This silence is your victory, the foundation of a future where you are free to live, love, and be yourself without apology. And that, in itself, will change your life forever.